Hey guys, Daft here. So in game update 8 they added the Harasser buggy, and I've had a lot of success with a loadout I've been using, so I wanted to share it with you guys. But first let's introduce the vehicle. Okay, so it's a 3-man vehicle. The driver has no weapon. This in Planetside 2 this is kind of a new concept, but the Planetside 1 veterans will feel right at home. The secondary seat is actually the primary turret, so you've got 360-degree range of motion, and it's top mounted, which gives it the ability to shoot from behind hills and keep the main body of the vehicle actually in cover if you need that. The third seat's for transport and allows whoever's sitting in the back to shoot from the rear of the vehicle. If you're an engineer, you can actually repair the vehicle from back here. It's a little bit difficult, but you can do it. And you can transport maxes in this vehicle. So throw an anti-air max in the back and you can actually have some pretty decent air cover, which I actually want to try at some point. Okay, so let's talk about my loadout. Utility slot, I use the NFI 2000 Turbo. In the defense slot, I've got composite armor. In the performance slot, I use the Scrapper combat chassis. And for the turret, I use the E540 Halberd, which is high damage dumbfire rocket with a very fast projectile. Okay, so let's go a little more in depth on each of these items. The Scrapper combat chassis, I was actually expecting to use the high-speed racer chassis at first. But the Scrapper introduces, it actually improves your traction, turning, brakes, and reverse speed. Whereas the Racer, which just improves your acceleration and top speed, actually is kind of compensated for by the Turbo. Traction is really important because the Harasser tends to spin out a lot, and spinning out in a critical situation can basically mean death. So having that extra traction keeps you from spinning out, and it allows you to make some rapid turns. And we do have improved turning, which allows us to do kind of like a serpentine motion, and which is good for dodging slower moving projectiles from the back and front. So bombers that are chasing you, or even tanks that are trying to get a shot into you as you're running away, or even heavies with dumbfire rockets, you can dodge those pretty easily. Brakes allow you to dodge projectiles from the side rather a lot more better. So rapid stopping. If you've got like a heavy that just shot a rocket, you've got that timing in your head. You know he's reloading. He's about to fire his next rocket. Slam on the brakes. Watch the rocket just fly in front of you and totally miss. It's very satisfying. So that's really nice to do. And reverse speed, finally, it makes us less vulnerable when we're actually moving backwards, so we can be a faster target. And combine that with stopping and then the turbo, and it can really improve the ability for the Harasser to kind of do like a pillaring motion, and it improves the mobility. So that brings us to the turbo. The turbo is by far, in my opinion, the best improvement to survivability for the Harasser. Increasing the level that the turbo is improves the fuel regeneration, and that's important because once you use up all your fuel, you won't be able to boost until you recharge that. So faster fuel regeneration means more frequent boosts, which means a lot more control over your Harasser, which is very important. If you lose traction, say you do spin out, because it still is possible, even though we've got using that Scrapper combat chassis, you can use the boost to counter the spin. So basically what happens is you start to lose momentum because you're spinning out, and when you use the boost, it's just it just pushes you forward. So now you've got traction again, you've got momentum because you're moving forward, and you've just exited a very dangerous situation. Making sharp turns, when you're coming around a corner, say you need to pull behind a rock to get cover real quick from a tank that's about to take a shot at you, but you don't want to stop. So you make that sharp turn, and when you have the direction that you want to proceed in, you just hit the boost. You don't have to worry about exiting the sharp turn, counter steering or anything like that. You just hit the boost, and all of a sudden you're traveling as fast as you can go in that direction, which is really good for maintaining momentum in this vehicle. It improves the speed and acceleration more than the Racer chassis. So if you've got that boost leveled up, you can maintain a top speed that's a lot higher than the Racer chassis. And the acceleration, for the Racer chassis is just, it's almost non-existent compared to what the boost can do. The boost allows you, from a stop, just the rapid acceleration that you can do allows for some very impressive dodges and getting out of some very dangerous situations. Using the boost also allows us to do hill climbing, which is what the other chassis boasts as its improvement. So you just, pointing those up the hill, hit the boost, and you're at the top of the hill. So composite armor for the defense slot. I was really unsure about whether I wanted to use the nano auto repair or the composite armor. But I think the real critical thing that makes the difference for me is the composite armor protects the rear of the vehicle. And when you have it at the max level, it protects the rear of the vehicle by an additional 60%, which is just huge, because with the Harasser, you're going to want to get into a dangerous situation and then get out of that dangerous situation. And when you're trying to get away, you're going to have the rear of your vehicle exposed. And I mean, if you do take a tank around to the back, which hopefully you don't, that extra 60% resistance is going to make a huge difference in how much damage you did take. So composite armor is huge for this vehicle staying alive. But that kind of brings me to the final point. These previous mods help us to stay alive, but that doesn't really matter if we're not doing any damage. So my choice for a turret is the E540 Halberd. It does 1500 damage, does 275 meters per second round velocity, which means it's high damage, fast projectile. It has very slight projectile drop because it is so fast, which is awesome because that means the gunner can just point, shoot, and do a massive amount of damage. It has a slower reload time. However, it doesn't really matter because it kind of helps the gunner because it allows him to take a shot and then reacquire the target really quick and fire at those opportune moments, because the driver is going to be traveling over bumps, hills, dodging in and out of cover. If the enemy's dodging or making changes to their direction, having a really slow projectile is going to be, you're going to miss a lot more shots. So it allows the gunner, they don't need to maintain sight picture the whole time. They can fire at those opportune moments, and it just really meshes well with the style that the Harasser boasts. Zoom optics. I actually prefer to use zoom optics instead of the night vision. I know those guys are out there that do prefer the night vision, but the reason I like zoom optics is because the weapon is such a high damage, fast projectile, you can use it at long range stuff. So one of the cool things is you can, sit on a hill and see a Sunder at range or a turret or even infantry, zoom in, take a shot, and it's just, they can't react fast enough. And by the time they do react, you can just relocate. So that kind of brings me to kind of how you need to use this vehicle loadout. It absolutely destroys Sunders, and it's great for patrolling defensive positions. But if you're going to be doing like an attack, if you're going to attacking a base, you want to circle the perimeter, find an ideal position to take advantage of flanking, and it does it so quickly that they don't have time to react. And then when they do react, you can just relocate to another vulnerable position and set up there. Alright guys, so that's the loadout I use for the Harasser. If you guys have any loadouts that you like to use, or any you've got different choices for different stuff that you use on your Harasser, I'd love to hear what you think. If you haven't tried the Harasser, I definitely recommend you try it. The vehicles, it can be absolutely devastating if used in the right hands. And I really hope you guys enjoy this video. If you did find this useful, leave me a like, and if you want to see more stuff like this, subscribe to the channel. Alright guys, I'll see you out there.